Welcome to the third session of this therapy course. This time, we're going to be talking about limited thinking patterns and their relation to our anger. Limited thinking patterns are the kind of models that we all use automatically at times. Instead of analyzing the situation, reasons, conditions, and everything else each time, we often draw conclusions based on past experience. This is completely normal because it makes life simpler to a great degree. At the same time, it can have a negative impact. Now we'll examine some specific examples. In the cognitive behavioral approach, 8 limited thinking patterns are identified: filtering, polarized or black and white thinking, overgeneralization, mind reading, catastrophizing, magnifying, personalization, and oughtness. Now we will look at all the features of each pattern in detail. The first pattern is filtering. According to this pattern, we select only negatively hued details and ignore everything positive in the situation. Pattern number 2 is polarized or black and white thinking. In this pattern, we only distinguish extreme characteristics, black and white, good and bad, either success or failure. There is no middle ground and no room for mistakes. The third pattern is an overgeneralization. People with this thinking pattern make general conclusions based on one case or fact. They tend to exaggerate the negative sides and scale of the event or situation. The next pattern is mind reading. Sometimes it seems that without any explanations from other people, we know perfectly well what they are thinking and feeling, and why they act the way they do. We also make assumptions about what other people are thinking about us. Pattern number 5 is catastrophizing. In this pattern, the person tends to constantly expect and imagine impending disaster. All it takes is for them to find out about a problem to start thinking, what if? What if a tragedy happens? What if that happens to me? And so on. The sixth pattern is magnifying. People with this pattern exaggerate the depth of any problem. They tend to blow the scale of everything bad out of proportion, and it seems to suppress everything around. The next pattern is personalization. In this one, you may assume that every word and action of the people around you is a reaction to you. You also constantly compare yourself with others, trying to determine who is cleverer, more competent, more attractive, and so on. The last limited thinking pattern in our list is oughtness. In the oughtness pattern, the person acts according to a strict and unbreakable set of rules. They believe that these rules cannot be violated under any circumstances, either by themselves or others. Everyone who doesn't follow these rules is at the very least annoying. And if the person themselves doesn't follow them, they experience guilt. Now you know about limited thinking patterns, which restrict the fullness of life and often lead to negative emotions. Needless to say, anger included. In order to free yourself from these, you first need to uncover them. Have you managed to find any of the patterns in yourself? We suspect that since your problem is anger, you are highly likely to have the oughtness pattern. We get mad when our expectations with respect to ourselves, other people, and the world around us are not met, and this is fine. However, as we said in the earlier sessions, the problems start when the response does not correspond to the stimulus. Therefore, we are going to deal with the oughtness pattern in more detail. As a consequence of the oughtness pattern, you often judge and criticize others. People annoy and anger you with their thoughts and opinions, which, in your opinion, are wrong. You cannot bear their unsuitable, according to your rules, character traits, habits, opinions, and actions. You often use words such as ought to, should, and have to in relation to others and yourself. What can we do to change this pattern? We should understand and adopt 2 ideas. The first is that there are exceptions to any rule. The second is that values are personal for everybody, but your personal values are exactly that, personal. You have the right to your own opinion, but don't rule out that other people might find something else important. Revise or question any personal rules or expectations that contain words such as ought to, should, or have to. Flexible rules and expectations do not contain these words, as there are always several expectations and exceptional circumstances. Flexible rules will reduce your expectations from yourself and others, and as a result, you will have fewer reasons to get angry.